Listen in today as we talk to Amanda Whitmire, and we are going to dig in and talk about her passion, which is Mustangs, and how she works in that Mustang world, and what the Mustangs have taught her, what working with horses has taught her, and how she helps other people get in tune emotionally and intellectually. So, listen in as we talk about trust and how to step in and trust yourself as well. Welcome to Lead Your Life, the podcast for people who are seeking harmony in business and in life. My name is Debbie Heiser, and I'm an inner mastery and business mindset coach and the chief igniter here at the Lit Up Life. I feel an urgency to help people let go of past messaging so that they can make a lot of money doing what they love without sacrificing what they value most. Welcome. We're glad you're here.
Straight from the corners of my mind is where I find my sanity. It's a place, another land,
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Lead Your Life with Debbie Heiser. I am here today with my friend Amanda, and it has been, I don't even know how many years ago. It's been probably 2019, actually, or 2020. I don't remember. Were you in? Anyway, we'll figure it out as we talk. But Amanda and I met through our business coach, Amira Alvarez, and we were both in a Spirit of Wealth mastermind together and met each other. I think it was 2020 because we met it was like New Mexico or Arizona or somewhere like that. And then COVID hit and we were online the whole rest of the year. So, um, but Amanda, you've always been someone that intrigues me. And it's partially because you have this love for horses. And I love that painting behind you, like this love for horses and particularly Mustangs. And you've really had a journey and stepped into a lit up life for yourself. And so I want you, though, to introduce yourself first, and then we'll just get into a conversation.
All right, sounds good. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to just be here and be able to talk about everything that I love and what lights me up. It's funny
Yeah.
that actually someone commented on a picture of me and my horse the other day, and they said it was actually a memory from a year ago, but they said, when you talk about your horses, you just light up. So I thought that's perfect for this podcast because it popped up, I think, just yesterday. And I was like, it's true. It's true. But I'm Amanda Whitmire. I live in Las Vegas right now. I train horses and particularly wild Mustangs. And I'm also a horseback riding instructor. So I help people get involved with horses and connect with them and hopefully eventually inspire them to adopt their own wild Mustang. That's my personal goal with them. So I try as much as I can to integrate the Mustang way of life into just normal horsemanship and still teach people how to go around in circles and go left and go right, but also teach them how to like connect with the horse on a more spiritual level and really help the horse change their own life through this like communication and through the
Yeah.
bond. So
Yeah,
it's just
horses are so intuitive. It's really amazing to me.
yeah,
And
they
so, Amanda, tell me, like, what is this love for Mustangs and how did you get started in that? And I should have preempted this first. I was captivated. This was probably a few years before I met you. There was a documentary, it was either on Prime or Netflix or something, where there's this like contest. And I don't know if that's part of what you're involved in, where you get like a tag and you get a wild Mustang that you get to train for a year, and then people can auction and purchase the Mustang. Like, and it's so fascinating to me because these Mustangs are so like, when I say wild, I don't just mean like not having been around people much, but like you can see it in their eyes and this like desire to just be free and like do their thing and like, so that captivated me. And I know you do something similar. So I want you to kind of talk through that a little bit as we go with this. But tell me what got you into this love affair with Mustangs.
Yeah, so the thing you probably watched was called Wild Horse Wild Ride. It's like one of my
Yeah.
favorite things, and you can watch it for free on YouTube. And it takes people through a journey of 100-day challenge, which is kind of like the most fun and exciting thing for me these days. But it all started for me as a teenager. I had my first horse when I was like 10 or 11. My mom bought me this crazy horse that was very cheap because we didn't have a lot of money. And she was
Yeah.
like, well, you want to go do all these things with your show horse friends? Just here, have this horse. And my horse show friends were off doing all these fun things, and I could not even get my horse to go in the trailer or to just ride around normally. And it was just very discouraging. So my mom took me to this clinic with Pat Pirelli, and I lived in Michigan. This was somewhere in southern Michigan, and it was a 2-day event. And I sat in the bleachers and I watched him ride one horse with no saddle, no bridle, and he just had this tiny stick and he was controlling like 5 other horses, making them go different directions and left and right and connect back up and ride with him and go over a jump. And I think it was that moment that really like solidified it in my brain that I'm going to figure out another way to work with these horses besides just making them do what I want to make them do and like
Yeah.
have fun because I'm making them do it. And so I started this whole journey with her, and I could do these things that all the barn people were like, I would never do that with my horse. So it was really cool. And then as a normal teenager, I got kind of out of it and did my normal stuff for a while, and then got another horse as an adult. And my that horse was a thoroughbred, so she was kind of like a racehorse like you see at the Kentucky Derby. And she had a really bad bone disease, and so I had
Hmm.
to put her down. But right
Oh,
before I put her down, I was looking at other horses that kind of needed my help and
yeah.
trying to kind of fill that void in my heart. And that's when I met my first Mustang. And I thought, how cool is this? I mean, I think we've all seen the Spirit kids movie where, this wild Mustang and then he gets captured and it's heartbreaking and then he gets free again and it's like the best thing ever. But in that movie, the they're building the train tracks, and I kind of always tell people that that's like the start of where the problem and my whole mission in life comes in, is like that moment when he realizes like they're building these train tracks and there's nothing I can do to stop them, like all this stuff's just going to happen. And now fast forward all these years and there's cities everywhere and there's people everywhere, and we need to feed those people, and so we do need to have land for the cows and the other animals that we actually eat. So it's just this giant problem now where, like, yeah, we do want all of the horses and nature to run free, but we also need to figure out a way to live with them. So that's kind of my ultimate mission now, is like trying to help everyone get on the same page and feel good about what they're doing and get
Yeah.
involved with horses.
Now, do you know, because I know there's like wild horses in North Carolina, and I think in Vegas out at Red Rock, isn't there wild horses out in that area?
Yeah.
Where, like, because they're few and far between now, aren't they? I mean, I think in Montana and some places where I live, there's some areas that have some like open range where there's some wild horses, but
Yeah,
do
there's
you know?
about 10 different states where they live right now, and I'd say there's probably about between 50 and 70,000 out there. But the problem is that their land is just like dwindling and dwindling. So they're trying to round up some of them and put them in these holding pens, which are just like big giant arenas filled with horses. But now there's just as many horses in the holding pen as there are in the wild. So now there's 60,000 horses sitting there getting fed and getting water every day at least, and getting a vet if they need it and any major injuries and stuff, but they're just still just sitting there. So it's depressing.
Yeah, that is depressing. So you like, what are you doing with Mustangs? Like, what are you doing to help get people on the same page? And what does that mean, getting people on the same page? What's the page you're trying to get them
Yeah.
on? Yeah.
So all these horses are either they're wild and we're trying to keep them wild, which means when their herds get too big, because horses don't just have a partner for life, they just breed everything all the time. And so the herds double every 5 years. So these horses are just getting more and more. So we're trying to keep the ones wild that we can keep wild by rounding some of them up and getting
Right.
them off to adoption and working on some birth control tactics and stuff like that for the wild ones. But my focus is on taking the ones that have been captured and finding good homes for them, because there's so many different people trying to say this is the right thing to do, that's the right thing to do, and it's so frustrating to me because when I do the math and I think about the people that own horses right now in America, if only 4% of those people adopted just one Mustang, we could clear the pens completely of the
Oh,
60,000
wow.
that are there.
Wow.
So I feel like it's not that hard to do,
Yeah.
but it does take a lot of like getting everyone to agree, and then it takes, okay, once you agree that you want to take in a wild horse and have that responsibility, then all the resources and the support, that is also a whole nother struggle, and everybody's saying do this, do that, train them this way, don't train them that way, and it's just, I feel like you can do a lot more than people want to restrict you to. And that's where it comes in. Like, that's where the lit up life comes in. Cause, like, whatever that means to you, that's what you should do and include horses in with it. Like, that's what I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, like the Mustangs, that's like, I see that as your love project, right? Like that's kind of a passion project for you. And so, what's your typical, like, who do you work with? And part of why I asked that is you're helping to teach writing. But I know one of the things that, like a group of us, and quite a few of them that went to Paris with Amira, we stayed together. And one of the things that we've been even looking at is going to a place where we do some like somatic emotional work with horses. And I know you were dabbling in some of that, I think a little bit with like some retreat stuff a while back, but tell us, like, what does a normal day look like for you?
Yeah.
Up at 4:30, feeding the horses, mucking the pens.
Yes, all of that for
Yep.
sure. And then right now I have 30 people every week that come to the barn and they learn everything there is to know about horses. And that's just like, it comes with the riding and learning how to actually move on the horse, but then there's so much more to it. And the people that come, especially to learn from me, I think do it for all those other reasons and not just to learn how to ride. I have a lot of people that come from other riding clubs and other programs and they're like, I want more, I want more, I want something deeper, and I want that connection. So that's, I think, why they come, and it's just so exciting for me because I get to facilitate whatever happens, and sometimes I don't even know what that is, and sometimes it's just magical to see when you give your stress and your frustration and your anxiety to a horse and you just tell them, like, I'm having this horrible day, or I'm sad about this or that, and you really just like feel that emotion. It's amazing how they can absorb it and almost, I don't know, like, I want to say like talk back to you, but like in their own way they can just give you so much comfort and relief, and it goes so much deeper than that. Like, there's obviously so many examples I could talk about all day, but just like for confidence, there's so many kids that don't want to talk and don't want to, have their physical boundaries and take up space in the world. And they come and they learn through horses that if they don't do that, it's going to get dangerous. And they really need to take that step and, you know, defend themselves emotionally, and then they see the horses respect that, and then they get this magical connection, and it's so hard to describe, but I try to do as many of these things to try to talk about it as I can, because a lot of people just, they come and they feel the magic and they just know that it's life changing, but it's so hard to put into words what's actually happening, because that might not look like much and it might not seem like much, and then you leave the barn and you feel completely refreshed and rejuvenated, and just, I don't know, you can deal with the rest of your life so much better.
Yeah, that's so true. And Amanda, when we come back, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk more about this like heart to heart connection. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Are you a woman who's worn out from wearing all the hats that we wear and you're really ready for a break? Well, join us for an empowering experience in beautiful Sandpoint, Idaho from October 24th to the 27th. This exclusive retreat is designed for women just like you. The Cast Your Vision retreat will have transformative workshops, expert guidance and coaching from me, and a supportive community to hold your hand along the way. Don't miss this opportunity to invest in yourself and your future. Get crystal clear on who you want to be and make that dream into a reality. Register today with the link in the show notes. Hope to see you there. Okay, welcome back. And Amanda, I want to talk more about this because to me, I've always felt like for me, it's like an orca whale and a horse, like their eyes are just so expressive and it's like the soul, right? Like you can look through and see their soul. And for me, like I didn't grow up with horses, but I've always loved horses and a lot of my relatives had horses. And so I would always go and like want to ride their horses, hang out in the barn and do all those things. And I used to love to muck the stalls because I was a city kid, right? Um, but there's almost like this, Heart Math Institute talks about the heart as a brain, and it's like this heart to heart connection, almost like I equate it to sometimes people have dogs that they feel this like super strong connection with, because if you haven't had that experience, it's hard to understand. It's hard to get it unless you've had it with a dog or a cat or something that like you have this bond. And so tell me, like, I don't know, can you remember back like an experience that you had with a particular Mustang or that was transformative and changed your life?
Oh, there are so many all the time. I would say the biggest thing that I do with horses on an ongoing basis, that when I first did it, I still don't really talk about it that much. And when I tell people about it in person, they kind of look at me weird, but when we do it, it's just amazing. So I have these cards, and I used to do it with other cards, but now I have this other deck of cards that's specifically like a horse deck that another horse trainer made. And she's an animal communicator, so she goes way into the spiritual side of it. And each card has a picture of a horse that was painted from a real horse. And there's basically, it's just like this whole herd of like healing horses. And on the card is a word that's like an inspirational word on it. And what I like to do with people, and what I did before was, I had no idea if this would work. I thought it was crazy. I was like, let me just see. And I put all these cards out in front of my horse thinking, oh, like she's just going to ignore me. And I was just going to do it for my own self, just in her stall, and like choose my own cards for the day and feel good about it. And she came over, and she's not this type of a horse. And she specifically went and sniffed every single card. And there was four cards that she tried to like nibble at, and I would like take them away, and she'd go to the next one and she would leave it, and she'd go to the next one and she'd leave it. It was just crazy. She got down to four cards, and I was kind of frustrated because I was like, well, the book says I'm supposed to do three cards, past, present, future, and like, why? I don't understand. So I showed them all four again, and she tried to nibble at all of them, and I'm like, oh, like I don't know what to do. And I looked in the book, and there was actually a four card reading also. And instead of it being past, present, and future, it was like body, mind, spirit, and soul, or something like that. And every single thing that was on those cards, they came with like a little paragraph in the book. And it was amazing. One of them, it was the only card in the whole deck that said something about taking the reins of your life and doing what you want with them. And it was amazing. And so now I do the actual horse deck, but at the time it was just a different kind of deck that didn't have anything to do with horses. But now I have a specific horse deck, and I have people come, and that's like my favorite thing to do, because I'll have people choose two cards, and then I'll have them bring them to the horse, and have the horse, like, it's crazy how the horse like chooses a card for you. It's like they're trying to talk to us, like
Yeah.
trying to give us these messages from God or from the universe
Yeah.
or whatever you believe in. And like, if we try to understand what they're saying, you really can get so much out of it. I don't know. So everybody's always like, this is amazing. Like, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think that's so cool. I love those like I'll see some reels where like an animal reaches out to a human because they're like either
Yeah, trapped or
something
stuck
is
or
trapped or
something.
they need help and bears and moose and all sorts of things, and it is we just don't take the time to listen. I
Yeah.
think each animal has a different language, and it's not that you hear them verbally necessarily, but they give you signs. I think about babies, like my 3-year-old grandson, when he was being potty trained, there's just certain signs that you look for, to be able to help guide him to the restroom when it was time and he wasn't thinking about it. And I think animals have that same, like they can communicate. We just have almost like a horse that has blinders on, right? Like we've been given these blinders to not be open to it. And frankly, sometimes not slowing down long enough to listen.
And I think we live in a really unique time in the world because we used to only use horses for work purposes and they used to do all this heavy lifting. And now that we have cars and all these other machines, we kind of have said, oh, we've just left them off to do their own thing. We don't need them anymore. But really, they're coming back in this whole new full force wave of being healers and therapists. And people are really starting to learn that they have so much more to offer. And it's just, that makes me most exciting. And then I was talking to the guy that trims my horse's feet and he made a comment like, I don't feed horses treats, that's like a girl thing. And I thought at first I wanted to get offended, but then I went home and I thought about it and I thought, you know what, it probably is a girl thing because we can't just muscle a horse to go here with us and go there with us. So we actually have to take the time and the space to respect that horse and maybe give them a reward for actually cooperating and being on the same page with us. And if that works even better than
Yeah.
muscling it up and doing it this way, then isn't that even
Well,
more amazing? Like, I don't know. I just,
it's like the woman that you went and like was doing the thing with the, or I don't know if it was a woman or a man, but earlier you were talking about the person that you went and saw when you were a kid and how they like just with a stick. It reminds me,
and
roll
that
your
was
eyes if
a
you
man
must, but
even.
one of my favorite shows is Heartland
Yes,
and
me too.
how she, okay, good. And how like she's really a horse whisperer. Like she
Yes.
builds this trust with the horse versus trying to manhandle it and try, which is interesting that that's even called that, but like, you know, without trying to force it and builds
Yeah.
trust with the horses to be able to then have them do the things that she's wanting to train them to do. And to me, that is so much more, that has more of the feminine. Now, I'm not saying it's female, but more of the feminine, openness and building that trust in each other. And it's just a beautiful sight to see because even though they're filming, like she's doing that work to have it be filmed, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so,
that's true. And I love that they're just even showing that side of it and saying this is possible because yeah, it's not something that people normally think of. And it's just like the rough and tough, just throw on a saddle and get it done. And it's definitely not the way that it can be. And even when I went to see Pat Pirelli, that's a man and he was doing all that stuff 30 years ago, 20 years ago, and inspiring me back then. So it's like I don't know how we got so far away from that and how we got, I don't know. There's all these different paths, and I just want to be that inspirational beacon to say there's still this hope and this light. And I can see how this type of training and this type of method works so much better. I had one Mustang that I was just starting to learn like positive reinforcement stuff with and do the clicker stuff with. And I tried for 26 days to get a halter on this horse's face. She would not want me near her. She did not want anything to do with me. And 2 days after I started, I would just walk in her stall. And then when she finally would look at me or stop freaking out, I would make the clicking noise and I'd put a little treat in her bin that was in the middle of her pen. And I would just walk away. And 2 days later, I got that halter on after 26 days of trying everything else. And I had just learned about this. This was like 3 or 4 years ago, and I had just started learning about this. And that was the first horse. And I was like, yep, I'm just gonna do this full out because this
ah,
is I can see how I could just manhandle it and just do it, but it's like, why would I not give this horse the opportunity to do it the way they want to do it and participate and want to stick her head in there? And it was just, I don't know, it blew my mind. And now I try it with every horse, every chance I get, and it's amazing to see the results I've gotten. So, and that's the whole Mustang way is the least force method. That's what we want to try to do with these wild horses because they will kill you if you try to just manhandle them. They're not just like your regular horse. So a lot
yeah,
of
it
these
reminds
regular
me of,
trainers can't even do the stuff with the wild horses because they just want to, oh, you just strap it up and they just go. And it's like, good luck with that.
exactly. Well, it reminds me of business and of life, right? Because I talk about this push and this pull. And so what you're doing is kind of pulling them forward. And when we push and you push too hard, it creates tension and it's just like a guitar string and it busts it because you're pushing so hard that it puts too much stress on it. So, which then you don't get anything done, which to me is very similar to running a business, to relationships, all of that, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
Amanda, okay, a couple of final questions here. I want to know, and I know you went and grabbed a book. What book has been inspirational to you, has made an impact to you in your life? And I know you like to read too, so you have numerous, but give us one.
I know. I would say I have a few here. All just everything about natural horses. I have these ones that are about natural
Oh,
horsemanship and
nice.
massage techniques and stuff like that. But probably my most influential book is from Pat Pirelli, Natural Horsemanship. And it's just like this is the guy. He's all young in this picture.
Yeah.
And he's just amazing. I still watch him. Even last year, he did a demo where he went and got 10 Mustangs and he put them in this big arena and he had all of his helper people training them. And it was just incredible to see what he could do in 2 days. And it's like it still works 30 years later. And he's got a very step-by-step method and it's fun games with the horses. And it's just, I don't know, it's just been so revolutionary to me.
That's
I love that.
awesome. Yeah, that's so cool. And then if we were to go out to your whatever music platform you use, what would be your most listened to song?
I would say on Spotify I'm not very good at like these music platforms at all. So when I do want to listen to music, I just type in a favorite song and then I just click on like that radio and then it plays other similar songs. So
Yeah.
my radio that I have is The Cowgirls by Morgan Wallen. Well, it's just
Nice.
called Cowgirls, but the Cowgirls radio is what I listen to because pretty much that and anything similar. I love that song. That's like
Okay.
just such a great song.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. And Amanda, if anybody wants to follow you, like watch you on this journey with Mustangs, how can they follow you or get in touch with you?
So my website is Whitmire Mustangs, Whitmire. And then I also have a free Mustang course for anybody that does want to get specifically into Mustangs. It's all about like what it takes to bring your first Mustang home and getting a pen set up for it and being safe. And that is for free on mysteryofthemustang.com. And then if you want to come and take lessons and all of that, I also have horsebackridingclub.com, which is a part of my Whitmire Mustangs website. So you can get to it on there. But if you want to just come and ride, that explains everything about riding. So
Awesome.
pretty much everything.
Okay. Do you do because I might be in Vegas, do you do just horseback riding for
Yeah.
people?
Yeah,
Okay.
you can just message me. I have like a form on there if you want to fill it all out, but that's for like a whole season of riding. But most people just fill it out and then they're like, I'm in town this week. I'm doing that tomorrow, actually. Somebody's just in town and they just want to come. And I call it the Yellowstone experience.
That's
You just
fun. That's
come and
fun.
enjoy the horses and ride around a little and just have a
Awesome.
little tiny piece of it. So, yeah, I do that all the time. Happy to do it.
Awesome. Amanda, it has been such a pleasure to reconnect with you and to talk about your love affair with Mustangs and horses in general. And thank you so much for your time today. And it was just fun. So
Thank
thank
you
you.
so much. I'm over here living my lit up life. So thank you so much for letting me share about it.
You bet. And with that, folks, it's a wrap. We'll see you next week. Thanks so much. That's a wrap for this conversation. I'm so glad you've joined us. Remember to subscribe to the podcast so you can catch all of our future episodes and visit us at thelituplife.com for details on how you can become part of the Lit Up Life community. A quick shout out to my friend Jackie Wilson and her friends, the creators of our amazing theme music. Thanks so much for allowing us to share this perfect song with our listeners. Looking forward to having you listen in to our next episode.